All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Cole Button. Thank you all for being here this evening. I serve on the Council Bluffs City Council, and I will be your moderator this evening for the Republican Party Pottawattamie County Supervisor Forum. Before I begin, I wanted to quickly explain the format and a few ground rules so we can keep everything fair, respectful, and on schedule. Candidates were assigned speaking groups based on a random number drawing upon arrival. Candidates who drew the number between 1 and 5 are in Group 1, and candidates drawing numbers 6 through 9 are in Group 2. Tonight we will begin with opening statements and then move to prepared questions, take a short intermission, and then finish with audience questions and closing statements. For audience members, if you would like to submit a question, please write it on the provided cards and turn it into staff by the end of the intermission break. During the break, we will review the cards and select questions that best reflect the topics of greatest interest. Similar questions may be combined. We also ask everybody in attendance to please refrain from applause, booing, or other interruptions while candidates are speaking so that each candidate receives a fair and orderly opportunity to be heard. For the candidates, please direct your questions to the moderator, not to each other. We also ask that you focus on your own vision and platform rather than mentioning other Republicans by name or criticizing them personally. Finally, we have a strict timeline this evening. When the 1-minute timer sounds during a response, your time is up and you must wrap up your current comments. With that, we will now begin with opening comments from Group 1. Each candidate in Group 1 will have 2 minutes. We will start with Jeff Jorgensen. Oh, yes, sure. My apologies. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance before we begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I take it everybody can hear me. I'm going to have to lean over a little bit. This cable's a little short here. My name is Jeff Jorgensen. I think most all of you people know who I am. I've lived in Pottawattamie County since 1995. My wife and I first moved into Pottawattamie, lived in Trainer.
Jeff, hold it up a little. We can't hear you back there, buddy. Hold it up a little closer.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, my name is Jeff Jorgensen. My wife and I moved into Pottawattamie County in 1995, moved out into Trainer, Iowa. And we lived out there for 17 years before moving into Council Bluffs. I'm going to say that Pottawattamie County is a great place. I've learned a lot here. My political acumen was developed at that time. I was former chairman of the Pottawattamie County Republican Party. It was a great learning experience for me. I've lived in both the urban and rural areas of Pottawattamie County, and I've learned to appreciate the natural beauty, the natural landscape of the rural areas, and the fact that Council Bluffs is just really a small town to a lot of people. And I love it, and I just appreciate being here this evening. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve McKern. Can you hear me, Charlie?
Yes.
Okay. Steve McKern. I've lived here in Pott County my entire life. I originally grew up and went to Underwood High School, so I've about 20 years in the Underwood area, and since then I've lived in the Council Bluffs area. I'm a lifer. This is my forever home. I'll always be here. I always take pride in what goes on within the county itself. We have great people here, both urban and rural. I think that's a lot of it for me. I just want to see what's best for families, businesses. I want to see the county grow. And if I was elected, I want to see the county in a better position than it was when I was elected into office. So, thank you.
You guys can use the other two. There's 2 other mics there. Just flip them on. That's why we have 3 mics out there, just so you guys know.
Charlie, can you hear me?
Yes. I can hear you now.
My name is Kimberly Schneckloth. I am from here as well. I was born in Council Bluffs at Jenny Ed and moved around a lot. I've lived in different states, obviously different counties, and I've always come back to Pottawatomie County. Pottawatomie County's home to me. We own a business in the county and we're raising our 4 kids in the county. And this is where we call home. So everything that happens in Pottawatomie County affects us also, and it matters to us. So I'm hoping that if you guys elect us, or I'm sorry, elect me, I will work really hard for you. I will listen, I will fight for you, and I will learn as much as I can to be able to do all that for you. Thank you.
Scott Belt. I want to thank the Republican Party for having this event. I want to thank all of you for coming. I've been a lifelong resident of Pott County. Been married to my wife Ann for 44 years. She taught in the Council Bluffs school system until she retired. I got 4 adult children, 5 grandchildren, and 3 of the adult children are here, and 4 of the grandchildren are here. And I'm not sure if I'm still raising the adult children or the grandchildren at this point. I went to school at Thomas Jefferson. I graduated from Iowa Western twice because I thought it was a 4-year school. I got a BS in business administration, and a BA in business administration and a BS in computer science. And then I graduated from UNI with a business administration degree. I've served on multiple boards and nonprofits. I've been on the city council for about 4 years and was pro tem for probably 8 years. Served on the park board in Council Bluffs for 10 years, and then served on the Pott County board for approximately 14 years also. Have institutional knowledge about Council Bluffs, rural Pott County. There's one Pott County, not East and West Pott County. There may be in Soil and Water and Conservation District, but we all live in one Pott County. And we need to know that and treat everybody from Pott County the same, whether they think they're from East or West. So that's where the clock is. I was wondering where it was at. Okay, well, I didn't know where it was at. It's right here in front of me. So I look forward to your questions and to answer any of them you got. I'll give you my phone number, my email, whatever you need. I'd be happy to do that. So thanks again for coming, and hopefully we have a good evening.
Good evening. My name is Greg Sturm. Please call me Bubba. Otherwise, I'm going to look at you like you're going to sell me some windows. And that's not it. I am a lifelong Council Bluffs resident. Graduated from Thomas Jefferson in 1995. Grew up down in the Playland Park area that my daughter just actually purchased my childhood home. I currently live off Pioneer Trail. As it is right now, I serve as the Vice President of the Lewis Central School Board. I have been involved with the Council Bluffs JCs. I guess I was married to my wife for 25 years. Back in the back, we have 2 girls. One is 22, just went out on her own, which is part of the reason that I'm running. I think Council Bluffs housing has gotten way too expensive. I see other opportunities for younger families in the rural area. It kind of opens up opportunities for them. I don't know, I've worked for Lyman Ritchie, Sand and Gravel. I traveled all through southwest Iowa for 20 years. So I did work out in the community on different construction jobs. Working with the Lewis Central School District, I do know how to keep them on budget. Since I have been a part of the school board, we have done 29 major projects with that school. 2 have went over budget. Right now, we are working on the bond, and things are going terrific. We're doing a very good,
All right, thank you, everyone. We will now move into the questions. Question 1 has to do with property taxes, spending, and services.
Cole, is there a time limit on the question?
I'm going to get to that. Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. Property tax appraisals have gone up by 10 to 30% in many cases, yet county spending has risen along with the additional revenue. How will you control property taxes while maintaining essential county services, and what policies would you support to prevent automatic spending increases when valuations go up? Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer, and we will start with Mr. McKern.
Sorry, Cole? Can you?
Yeah.
That was long.
He wants the question again.
Can I?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. How will you control property taxes while maintaining essential county services, and what policies would you support to prevent automatic spending increases when valuations go up?
I think somewhat on the property taxes, really got to work with the assessments that are ongoing now. Like he says, I think they've gone way too high. I think the county board needs to work toward that with what's going on with the assessors. I think the spending, like he says, has been out of control. We definitely need balanced budgets. I think a lot with the spending is just getting in and hashing that and see where we stand in our budget as things are going on. But like I said, I've had experience where I've had 20 budgets that I've done over the years, and I've never had it missed a budget. So I think with that experience, I can use that to balance out what the revenues and incomes are going to be for the county.
Next.
Yep, we'll go down the line.
Can you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
Yeah. How will you control property taxes while maintaining essential county services, and what policies would you support to prevent automatic spending increases when valuations go up?
Okay. I would agree with Steve on that one as far as working with like evaluating the homes and keeping those a little lower. Something that I think is really important is to evaluate overall where our spending is going. It seems that once someone gets money, like a department gets money, it only goes up from there every year. So I think that there needs to be a review to maintain that, see what they have done with the money, and if it's appropriate to give more, and if not, where can that money be spent to benefit the taxpayers?
I don't want to be taking other people's time, do I? Okay, ready to go?
Ready.
Okay, so first and foremost, we're a board, and we all have about, what I'd say, 20%. So you got to get 2 other people to agree with any policy you're going to do. So that's the simple equation to that thing. There's a lot of moving parts. You got the Iowa code that the assessor has to follow. You got the state that comes in with a rollback, which sometimes you don't know what it's going to be. And, well, what they're doing right now, we don't know what they're going to do. So 80% of our budget, and there's probably a little more than that, is employees. So that's where you're talking about service. If you want to cut some employees, I don't know that we do. We can look at that, but that's where the biggest part of cutting anything would be in employees, because the cost of that goes up every year, whether it's retirement, medical.
all right, I think I would control the spending. That's the big thing. I think there needs to be open communication from the county to the cities to the school districts. The only thing there, for one, I don't know, I would never say that there are automatic spending increases. When you sit on a board, you vote for every dollar that you spend. So to label them as an automatic increase, I don't believe that that's correct. I have, like I said, I've been on the Lewis Central Board. We have done very well. All of our budgets are in check. I think we take care of our employees very well. And I think we do right for the tax-paying community.
You got 2 mics down there, guys. You want to pass one of the mics back down?
No, why?
Okay. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? There we go, okay. Well, property taxes and spending, you know, it is a two-edged sword. And to tell you the truth, since I've been on the board, there's more and more of our authority being taken away by the state legislature. They're starting to dictate what our tax levies are going to be, which limits our revenues, which we got to work through that, and we have. But there's only 2 possibilities: either decrease services or lay off employees to control spending. But you know, it's certainly workable so far. Anyway, it has been workable. And inflation was, at least when I first got on the board, inflation was the major concern that we had with dealing with our county budget. In many ways, it still is. So things that are really beyond our control.
Thank you. We will now move on to question 2. This has to do with support for local youth and collegiate shooting sports. Pottawatomie County has award-winning middle school, high school, and Iowa Western Community College shooting sport programs, yet teams currently travel over 45 minutes or cross state lines to practice. Do you support approving a trap, ski, and sporting clay range within Pottawatomie County to keep these successful youth and college programs local? We'll begin with Ms. Schneckloth.
Oh, good job.
Sorry about that.
I really support that. I actually just became aware of this. I think Patrick and I were talking about that. So if we have land that we can do that with, absolutely. I mean, there's also the ski hill. We have property there. I know the question isn't about like where can we do this, but I absolutely do support that. I think it would be great. We have children at our church that participate in this, and they have to travel very far. And there's potential for a lot of growth there in our area.
Okay. The simple answer is yes. The tough answer is who's going to pay for it, who's going to run it, where's it going to be? And that would require probably some zoning to have that. Some people would prefer it not be near them or close to them, I'm guessing. But it's something that we would have to work with those folks, the high schools and middle schools, Iowa Western, probably conservation, the state DNR. We've done some work with this in the past with the DNR, and there may be some funds out there. Finding a location and how big the location needs to be, those are things that need to be discussed to decide what the cost and who's going to maintain it, who's going to run it, who's going to take on the liability. I mean, that's going to be a board decision.
I would say absolutely. I'm not here to eliminate a sport from any high school student or middle schooler. At Lewis Central, we already partner up with Iowa Western on a lot of different projects. The one thing that I would want them to do is go to the neighbors, make sure that we are putting it in the right position. There's no sense in building it somewhere and then the city expanding, building around it, and now all the neighbors complain. That's not how that works. The other aspect of this is, which I have learned, shooting is really a tourism. I have friends right now that are on their way out into Nebraska. It's bringing in over 1,000 kids to their area for 3 days. That impacts our hotels, our eating places, Bass Pro Shop, can sell all sorts of shells.
Okay, Cole, could you repeat the question?
Do you support approving a trap, skeet, and sporting clays range within Pottawattamie County to keep these successful youth and college programs local?
Certainly. We've discussed that before out in Trainer, Iowa, and a location close to Trainer, Iowa, in the past. I certainly would like to see students, especially high school students, become more familiar with weapons, rifles, shotguns, that kind of thing. We are a strong Second Amendment. The right to carry arms is certainly within our Constitution, and I certainly support all of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think any time that you give kids a chance to be involved in things, or involved in sports or in activities, I think it's a great building block for them. I've always supported that, always believed that the kids should have activities to do. If Omaha can have one there on Seymour Smith, shooting range and everything, why can't we have one here in Pot County somewhere? I think you gotta watch, of course, where you put it. I mean, you don't wanna invade somebody else's property, especially with weapons. You gotta watch what's going on around that facility. So I think definitely I would be yes.
All right, thank you, everyone. At this point, we will transition over to our second group of candidates for opening remarks and a couple questions.
You take our name tag with us or what?
No, we'll get it.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
It's like a Navy sub, they're hot cotton, right?
I thought it was fishing. Putting on line.
All right, group two, we will now give you 2 minutes for your opening statement. We will start with Susan Miller.
Good evening. Good evening, and thanks for coming. I am Susan Miller, and I live in Carson. My husband and I will be celebrating our 45th anniversary this summer. We have 2 grown children, and I have 3 grandchildren. I worked at First National Bank of Omaha for 42 years, and they offered me an early retirement, and I'm too young to retire. And I'm still too young to retire, so that's why I'm running for re-election to the county board. I believe that there are a lot of things that we've got in motion right now, and I want to see those go forward. I want to be able to watch the progress be made. It's important that on a board that you get consensus, that you collaborate, that you work together. And I think we can go a lot further when we do that. And I've seen some of that discussion here recently, and it's made a difference. And Tuesdays are exciting, and I just am really anxious to run for re-election, and I appreciate everybody coming tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Charlie Johnson, and I'm a candidate, as you well know, for Pottawattamie County Supervisor. I'm running because I want to bring stable leadership, accountability, and most of all, common sense to the County Board of Supervisors. My career includes many years of public service, working with Iowans on issues such as agriculture, economic development, budgets, and tax policy issues. And I believe that knowledge and experience will serve me well as a member of the county board. People often talk about government as if it is an unseen entity. Actually, government is we the people. Government operates because we fund it. We have the right to expect that our hard-earned tax dollars are spent thoroughly and carefully as we would spend our family budget dollars. That is the respect you deserve. The actions of our board have created headlines and put our county through a lot the last 15 or 16 months. We need new leadership, transparency, and most of all, common sense. If elected to the board, I will focus on fiscal responsibility and oversight of how your tax dollars are spent. I will focus on issues that will improve the lives of all Pottawattamie County citizens, like economic development, affordable housing, infrastructure, and even water issues, and protect our farmers and our farmland. And most of all, I will listen to you. Be responsive and respectful to the citizens of Pottawattamie County, and to our employees, let them know how much they are appreciated and valued for the fine work they do for us every day. I want to look to the future of Pottawattamie County, work hard and protect your tax dollars from Carter Lake to Walnut, Council Bluffs to Macedonia, and all points in between. Thank you.
May I ask everyone in the audience to please refrain from any applause or other disruptions? Thank you.
You can boo me if you want. Charlie, can you hear me?
Yes.
What's up? Good. I should have just started talking. That was right along, yeah.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Mark Shoemaker. I am running for county supervisor. I came to Pottawattamie County in 1992. I was hired as an intern up at Hitchcock Nature Center. After that, I was hired as a park ranger. I was down at Long's Landing County Park, if anybody remembers where that was, south of Lake Manawa. I was a park ranger for about 6 years, or actually about 4 years. I went to the Law Enforcement Academy. I moved into the executive director position, and I was in that role until August of 24 when I retired. So I retired kind of young. I was 55. So I have a little bit more to give back to Pottawattamie County. I really appreciate what Pottawattamie County has given me. I raised a family. I had 2 boys that went to Lewis Central. One is still in Council Bluffs, one is Omaha. My wife passed away in 2020. She's buried in Garner Township Cemetery. So I have a lot of connections here and a lot of memories and a lot of experience with county governments. I believe our county government should be working for the people openly, responsibly, and with a clear focus on the need of every community. We all deserve a county that listens to its citizens and makes decisions in the open. Transparency isn't just a word, it's my promise. This election is about trust, stewardship, and service. I'm committed to listening, working hard, and putting the people of Pottawattamie County first every single day.
Yep. No, you can use the middle. That one. Yep. Yeah, they're all on.
Hi, my name's Karis Curley. I've been a Pottawattamie County, I've lived in Pottawattamie County since 27, 8 years. I've grown a family here. My kids went to Underwood. We live, I'm a business owner. I own some land out in the country. I pay my taxes in this county, and I struggle with all the daily realities of everyone in this room. So my business, it seems like my business you know, the way they handle businesses and, you know, just basically in general, it's tough to keep a business rolling. And a lot of people understand that. But the people of this county deserve a seat at the table, and I just decided that I wanted to be that person to, you know, have those people, I want to earn their respect and earn their vote. And, you know, county government exists, you know, for the people who fund it, and not the other way around. Every dollar, you know, that's flowing into this county, it just seems like, you know, property taxes went up. I think it said like 10 to 30%, but, you know, some people's property taxes went up, you know, up to 50%. And, you know, where did that money go? You know, there was a big inflow of tax dollars, and, you know, I want to get down to the root of that. I want to find out, like, where this money went, and, you know, we need to have, you know, the members need to vote on, you know, where this money goes. And, you know, that all starts with, you know, looking into all of it, all of the, you know, all, that's,
All right, thank you. We will now move into questions. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. We will begin with Charlie Johnson. First question is, how will you control property taxes while maintaining essential county services? And what policies would you support to prevent automatic spending increases when valuations go up?
Well, first of all, okay, thank you. Thanks. First of all, at recent meetings, I have been using this analogy. There's 5 points I'd like to point out. Number one, your assessment continues to increase. Number two, you continue to pay more. The county continues to spend more, and they continue to take in more. Folks, we don't have a levy problem, we have a spending problem in this county. And I just think we've got to start asking ourselves about the budget and the budget of the future because of what right now is going on in the legislature in Des Moines. If that tax bill is passed and we're put on a 2% cap, that is really going to affect our budgets and our budgets of the future. It's going to be a dramatic change, and it's going to be everlasting for a long time, and we better be prepared to make some tough decisions.
Rising property valuations shouldn't mean rising property taxes. Taxes are driven by local governments' budgets, not just the assessments. When valuations jump 10 to 30% and local government doesn't adjust spending or doesn't adjust the levy rate, the taxpayers are going to feel it. If a budget stays flat, then the tax rate should fall. If the budget rate increases, then the taxpayers are going to feel the full impact of that. We need to limit spending growth at inflation unless there's public need and support to exceed that limit. When valuations rise, we should adjust the levy rate down to avoid collecting even more from the taxpayers. Public safety, roads, and core services are always going to be the most important. Every dollar spent should be tied to priorities and not just carried forward from previous budgets. Taxpayers deserve...
You can finish up your current thought.
Taxpayers deserve to know not only what the tax rate is, but what they're actually paying. We need reporting that shows the real impact of budget decisions on the homeowner.
Change the rules.
Well, I was letting you finish the sentence.
No, it says stop on the button. Hold it.
You must wrap up your comments.
That's what I meant.
I'll talk last next time.
Stop speaking immediately, it says. When time expires. I didn't make the rules.
so, you know, as the valuations go up, you know, it seems like, you know, back to the windfall, the government just looks at it, you know, local government, they looks at it as a windfall of cash, and there's no, it seems like, you know, nobody's there to represent your tax dollars, and, you know, that money belongs to the property owners. And, anytime there's an increase, the board should, formally vote in absorbing any new revenue above the set baseline that they have. They shouldn't just keep spending, and if there's a big chunk of change, I always look at it, if I get a raise, I don't go out and spend it that day, and that's kind of what they need to look at. And, the same rules applies to development deals. The tax abatements, how they let other businesses and stuff like that come into this county, and they get free property taxes. They should not make deals like that.
Well, I think Scott summarized it really well when he talked about the Iowa state and what their mandates are and how they decide how the property taxes are going to be spent. We have a board, and we have tough decisions that we need to make. We evaluate for months, it seems like, the value that each department brings to the people and the services they provide. It's going to come down to some hard decisions. It's going to be tough, and whoever gets elected to this board is not going to be a favorite among the people that are sitting in this room, because there are going to be tough decisions to make. I think, well, for example, my property, when I bought it 42 years ago, it was for $35,500. Today it's valued at $200,000. To fix that property tax question, it's not a math problem, it's not an economic problem.
Second question. Do you support approving a trap, skeet, and sporting clays range within Pottawattamie County to keep these successful youth and college programs local? We'll begin with Mr. Shoemaker.
Yes, I do support that. Iowa Western Community College has won 5 consecutive national championships. So it's very important to this community. The high schools have great programs. As conservation director, I worked with Coach Pollock, I worked with Dr. Kinney, I worked with Pheasants Forever, and I worked with local landowners and local community members to try to find a location when I was in conservation. The money, Scott said it's going to be difficult to find the money. I think the money's going to be easy. I think the location is going to be the issue. If you're within 700 feet of a resident, you can't have a shooting range. If you're within a mile of a residential zoned district, R1, R2, you're not supposed to have a shooting range. So I think zoning issues have to be looked at. And there are some locations in the county that have been identified. The Iowa Southwest Law Enforcement Center did have a plan. And there are some other ideas out there, so we need to get this done. It's important.
I agree that we need to have this. Right now, like what he said, the national championships they won in Underwood, and Iowa Western. Right now they're driving up to kids driving 45 minutes to Harlan or even across state lines, and the whole issue of the money, from my understanding, there was an allotted funds set by the DNR, and it was like $5 million, but they just couldn't find a place to put it. So we need to get somebody on the board that can make stuff like that happen. They can pull together, get a vote, and try to push this through. It's and the other side of that too, I looked at. There could be why can't the law enforcement, it's going to be a shooting range, why can't we just, law enforcement, the sheriff, the local PD, they can also use it. So if you put that into there, I think, it would work out quite well. The cost of that would wrap up pretty well with, everybody else.
Everything I learned about this topic, I learned at the Underwood Fire Station on Saturday morning. It was just a coincidence that's what the topic was that came up. I believe that it is important. I believe that we can find a location and address the liability and the management concerns for it. I also see it as an excellent training ground for future deputies for the county. Law enforcement is something we take very seriously, and we try to find the right people to fill those roles, and I think this would be a great feeder ground for that. And I congratulate Iowa Western on their successes, and it does sound like a great program that is important to continue.
I think I can actually answer this just with one word, absolutely. If it's going to benefit our students, high school students, our college students, I'm definitely in favor of it. My only concern is, what's the plan? I'm a person who likes plans. Where do we start? What's going on? And then what's the end game? And how do we finish? And what's the goal? So once we have a plan in effect, and we can locate property, I'm all about it. Secondly, my question would be, Mark said about funding. I agree with that, but is it going to be privately funded? Or is it going to be a partnership between government and private funds? I don't know, and I think that's some question that needs to be asked. So, but they can definitely count on my support. I think this would be great for the community and for our children. Thank you.
All right, so that concludes the prepared questions portion of tonight's forum. We're now going to take a 5-minute recess. This will be the final opportunity for audience members to submit their questions on those cards. Please have those submitted by the end of the 5 minutes. When we get back, we will start with the same 4 county supervisor candidates.
No, you asked for a drink.
All right, if everyone in the audience should take their seats, we'll go ahead and get started with the second part. All right, welcome back, everyone. We will now begin with the audience question portion of tonight's forum. We will begin with group 2. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question, and we will start with Mr. Curley. The first question is related to the 2% property tax cap that the state has implemented, and do you support what the state is doing?
Yeah, and anytime there's a cap, we need to, we need to accept that cap, because right now, it's been out of control for the past, we were just talking about how the taxes went up, in a lot of cases. My case in 2023, my taxes went up 58%. So, other people have, had that same problem. So, is the 2%, at this point, is it going to get implemented, or is it going to, is it something we're actually going to make happen? I'm not seeing it yet. Is it a little, too far, too late? I think for most people it is. A lot of people are getting, they're worried about staying in their houses. They're worried about, how am I going to pay for my property taxes? I hear this a lot from people when I run around. And, we don't want that. And there's a lot more to that. We need to give credits where credits are due. That 2% is great, but, if you're 65, 70 years old and you have no income and it's not going up 60% or 30% or whatever, 10 to 30%, those people need help.
So the question was related to the 2% property tax cap the state is looking to implement. Basically, are you in favor of what the state is doing?
I'd like to sit down and talk with the legislators and understand more about the formula behind what they're trying to solve for. I think it's more than a math problem, but I think we need to break it down and figure out what other states are doing that might be working better. Start over from the very, very beginning. The 2% cap, that would be like giving our employees a 2% raise each year and then not having anything left to upgrade equipment, upgrade our insurance, the technology requirements that it takes to operate so many of the services that the state tells us we have to provide. That all comes at an extra cost. And 2% for a cap is going to be very, very difficult to work with the same level of service that we're providing today.
I almost have to say, Susan, ditto, because I'm not opposed to the cap. The House bill is 2%. The Senate bill, it ranges from 2% to 5%. But I also have a concern about the budget, not only this budget. If that is implemented, it's going to be a dramatic change to our budget way into the future. And it's going to have a lasting effect on our county budget and property taxes. So I'm concerned, as an example, what if the county gets a premium increase on health insurance? And it's 10%, 20%, and we got a 2% cap. So I'm really concerned about it, but I also think there is something needs to be done. When you have a group of senior citizens show up at the board meeting and explain how hard it is for them to continue to pay their taxes, and they want to stay in their homes, then folks, something's not working, and we really need to take a hard look at it.
Yeah, that's a good question, and I do agree with Susan and Charlie on that too. It would be nice to see what they're coming up with formulas. I know property tax reform has been going on for several years. You hear it's going to happen, something's going to come out of the legislators, but it doesn't. I know we have Dan Dawson over here in Council Bluffs, and he gives us updates on what's happening in the state. If you go to legislative coffees, you find out about it. And I agree, there's a lot of moving parts when they're talking property tax reform. He talks about it. You listen to what they have to deal with. I don't know if they're going to be able to make a decision this year on it. So there may not be anything happening this year. We'll just have to wait and see. So it's fun working with the state and seeing what they come up with and what they pass down to the counties. It's always a challenge.
I start again?
Yep. Next question is, what is your stance on CO2 pipelines in Pottawattamie County? We'll start with Susan.
The CO2 pipelines, they got a bad rap when we had bad actors that were trying to force the eminent domain. We are currently in the process of installing a CO2 pipeline from the Sire ethanol plant south of Council Bluffs into Mills County that will connect into Nebraska. It has no eminent domain. They had no problems getting easements signed for that process because it made sense to the landowners and it made sense for the project. We have semis hauling far worse chemicals down the highways, and we're not trying to enforce those. Senator Shipley has convinced me that the CO2 pipelines properly constructed are not a concern. It is up to the property owners. Eminent domain is where it's all at. It needs to be the property owners.
For me, about eminent domain it's the saying that no eminent domain for private gain, and that's the way I feel about it. And it is the property owner's decision whether or not they want this to go across their property. Am I opposed to it per se? No. But for me, it's all about what the property owner wants and how is it going to affect their property, their operation, and do they really want that on their land? And I agree with Susan. There's a lot of stuff that goes up and down this road that's a heck of a lot worse than those CO2 pipelines. And it's also true that that's not being enforced. So I just think you got to take it, each pipeline, each proposal, and on its merits, and then you have to see how the property owner will react to that pipeline.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to the CO2 pipeline. It just makes me wonder why we have to store the CO2 somewhere. I know it's not going to happen in our lifetime, but there needs to be technology out there where something else can be done with the CO2 instead of burying it underground. Eminent domain was the worm in the apple, I guess, for this issue. And it's not an issue if landowners are willing to sign the easement and have it go through their property. I don't have any issues with the CO2 pipeline. I just think in my mind, why are we storing CO2 or why do we have to stick it underground? It's used by other species on this planet, so let's plant more trees.
I guess this is, in my honest opinion, this is kind of a sticky, question. The question I would ask about it is why are we, if we're going to use eminent domain to take land from farmers, how is that benefiting us? That's the question that need to be asked. If this doesn't benefit the residents of the county, why are we forcing eminent domain on farmers that it's their land? They should not lose something because some other, higher power or richer company wants to try to, force onto us. And so, am I for the pipeline? Am I, and eminent domain? Absolutely not. Do like the ethanol plant is probably one of the bigger ones that, that need to use it. They should be the ones that have to move the product and they should handle it. It shouldn't be on the backs of the residents of this county or the farmers.
Thank you. This next question, we will start with Charlie Johnson. What ideas do you have to streamline county government, reduce waste, and cut budget costs?
And I'm supposed to answer that in 1 minute? Number one, I'm not an incumbent. I'm a challenger. If I get elected, and I've said this, and it's on my flyer, that I'm going to roll up my sleeves and get to work, and that's basically what I got to do. I want to know what's in that budget now, and I want to know if there is possibilities that we can make adjustments to the budget. Now, in my career, I've worked with budgets. I've even been a part of the federal budget, working on it when I worked on Capitol Hill. So, no one can convince me that there isn't something in that budget that can be cut or removed or a program removed or something, because there's always something in a budget that can be eliminated and save people, taxpayers money.
Can you repeat it?
Can you repeat it?
Yes, of course.
Thanks, Cole.
What ideas do you have to streamline county government, reduce waste, and cut budget costs?
Okay, county government should be focused on responsible spending and protecting the taxpayers. My priorities are going to center around transparent government, responsible use of the tax dollars, and making sure essential services truly serve the community. That means carefully reviewing the budget, cutting waste where possible, and ensuring every dollar spent delivers value, while at the same time maintaining critical infrastructure, public safety, prioritize some efficiencies, and maintain those services that families rely on. Government should live within its means and reduce unnecessary burdens on property owners wherever they can. So I think you just have to look at how you're spending and adjust.
What ideas do you have to streamline county government, reduce waste, and cut budget costs?
Probably one of the biggest things that's not used as much is, resource sharing in the county. We could probably save quite a bit of cash, resource sharing. If, it kind of comes down to, if I need a piece of equipment and let's say I need a skid loader to do something on my property and, my neighbor has one, it's probably better just to say, hey, what do I got to do to just borrow your equipment instead of every single county owning their own equipment. There's that's probably one of the bigger things that I see, because I know, and then, resource sharing is also employees. I know there's actually some employees right now that's in the county that actually work in multiple different counties. So, if you could share the burden of that, a single employee handling, multiple counties, or a department handling other counties, that would be something that, would be, it just makes complete sense to me. Resource sharing is what we have to do, and that's just the way, that's just the way the dollars are falling right now.
Well, along those lines, one idea that comes to my mind is with 911 communications. And it is hard for us, Pot County, to hire and train and retain telecommunications workers. They are under a lot of stress and they are very specialized in their positions, and our starting wages are not the greatest, but we do try to retain them. But for the surrounding counties, maybe we need to look at moving the Mills County or Harrison County into the Pot County Communications Center. And when their employees, retire, then we would just take on those services as well and provide more of a centralized system. For the treasurer's office, when we mail out license plates, the state does not pay us back for what it costs to actually mail those. And I think that's something that we need to fix.
All right, thank you, candidates. We will now ask Group 1 to come back up here.
Right?
Sorry, what did I? Go ahead. There you go. I didn't realize it.
All right, first question, we will start with Jeff. The first question was related to the 2% cap on property taxes that the state is looking at, and basically if you support what the state is doing.
Well, I don't necessarily support what the state is doing. County supervisors ought to be in charge of the budget, period. And that includes the revenue, the spending, all of that. And that's starting to be taken away from all of our counties. So I think supervisors ought to be in charge of their county budgets. And that's where I'm at.
2%, I don't believe even covers inflation. So basically, you're almost at a zero budget situation in those cases. So you're gonna have to figure out how to come up with, you're gonna have to cut costs since your revenue is gonna get capped anyway. So 2% I just think is way, I'm not for it, I guess. I'm looking toward, I think we gotta watch what we do spend, but we also gotta look at some expenditures maybe down the road to bring more businesses into the county, things like that too. So overall, I'm not for it.
The 2%, so I'm with Jeff. I think that it should be done on the local level. I think that there is something wrong going on though when senior citizens come and, like Charlie said, and I was at one of those meetings, senior citizens were coming up and speaking about how they couldn't afford their home because of the taxes. And we should not be suggesting that they sell their home and go rent. Their taxpayers help build the county that we live in right now. So while I'm not really for the 2%, I do believe that stuff just needs to be reevaluated.
Well, I would tell you, and I think a couple, well, Susan for sure, and Charlie and the rest of the panel were pretty much right on this. The devil's in the details. I would go to a lot of these county conventions every year, and the county ISAC, which is the Association of Iowa Counties, would tell me there's 99 ways to do things because there's 99 counties. That probably is going to have to change. The governor's often offering up $10 million to start coordinating with other groups and counties. If we have a national disaster and FEMA's not going to start reimbursing us, I can tell you we've had multiple national disasters in Pott County. 2% is not even going to cover any of that for what we have to do to bring our county back whole again. I mean, COVID, for example.
I will say absolutely not. You show me one thing that our state can do a blanket statement and make it work for all 99 counties. I said that doesn't work. Our area is different than other places. I said, when it comes to like maybe over the age of 65, retirement age, maybe have a tax break, but that would be on the local level, whether it be local, whether it be county. I 100% support that, to put a cap on them. But for coming from the state, I don't know that there is one thing that blankets every county in the state that benefits the local people here.
All right, this next one, we will start with Mr. McKern. What is your position on the CO2 pipelines in Pottawatomie County?
I think with the CO2 pipeline, I agree with what some of the board members or potential board members were discussing, is those costs related to that should fall under the ethanol plant. That shouldn't fall under Pottawatomie County people, individuals. I think for me on the CO2 plant, I'm an auditor by trade, so I need to look at the pros and cons of everything. I need to see the cost, but I want to know what the risks are. And that's one of the first things I do, is dive into risk and see what there is on that. And if there's not that much risk to it, I don't see why we couldn't go forward with it, but I also don't want to see it be a burden on the taxpayers in the county, so.
Oh, that's right.
He's stingy with his microphone. I don't actually know enough about it to speak on it, to be honest. I would love to research it and learn more before speaking on it. And that's just my answer, because I don't want to jump on the bandwagon and not really know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to pass it on.
Kimberly, I love your honesty. The CO2 pipeline, and both of them spoke about what's going up and down 29 and 80, but the railroad's been shoving stuff through Council Bluffs and Pott County for longer than before I was alive, that people don't know what's on those rail cars. So the pipeline is one of the safest things you can have for that. And I mean, eminent domain, that's a whole different discussion. These guys went out, were willing to train our people on any type of incidents, and give money back to the community to keep people up to snuff on what they need to do if there isn't such a thing. It's a really short pipeline that they're building in a Pott County compared to what the other one was that wanted to go all the way to, what, North Dakota or South Dakota, where it was going, Wyoming.
Don't even worry about that, it's gonna be short. I pride myself on being transparent. I don't know enough about this CO2 pipeline and to even speak about it. And when it comes to the eminent domain, that would be a whole nother topic that I would not support and would definitely need to know more information on.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay. I'm against the use of eminent domain for the CO2 pipeline, positively. I don't think property owners ought to be forced into something they don't want to do on their own property. Second thing is CO2, it's a naturally occurring gas, for God's sakes. It's naturally produced in our atmosphere. It's a green energy fiasco, in my opinion. And I don't want anything to do with capturing CO2. I think there are business entities involved that we don't know what their true status is and how they are involved. It's certainly they're looking to benefit them, and certainly not the residents and property owners of Iowa. That's where I'm at.
Thank you. And Ms. Schneckloff, we will begin with you for this next question. What ideas do you have to streamline county government, reduce waste, and cut budget costs?
I mean, I think it's hard just because I don't really know what's in the budget. But I've thought a lot about this, and I go to the county board meetings. I listen a lot, and I'm trying to learn. I do believe that a review, once money is allotted to a department, maybe have a review on that every 3 years for them to come back and be able to tell us what they have done with that money. Each year they shouldn't be able to just get more money because inflation or whatever is going on with the economy at the time. I think that everywhere that our money is going, the taxpayer dollars money is going, it needs to be reviewed deeply. See if there's waste, to see if that money still belongs there or if times have changed and it belongs someplace else.
Cole, you want to give me that question?
Yeah.
Give me that question again, please.
What ideas do you have to streamline county government, reduce waste, and cut budget costs?
I don't know that there is a lot of waste in what we provide as Pott County. I think what Susan mentioned was about the 911 situation and the cost of that and the continued cost of that. I mean, you look at what Star Lake's doing or OnStar, and they can tell you, hey, Mr. Bell, what are you doing out there on Highway 90 or whatever? I think there's technology out there that we need to share with other counties and consolidate some of those services that we do. And we already do some of it with roads and some roads equipment, but I think there's more to be done and more synergism when we buy bigger inventories and things because the disappearing rock we have out there on our roads.
I think the easiest way to do it would be the sharing part of it. Whether it be, combining the 911 systems, and then it goes all the way down to, he says 80% of our money goes to the employment. And those are our neighbors. We're not looking to cut their wages. They have to sustain their living here also. What we can do is we could buy our fuel in bulk. Whether it's the county, the cities, the school districts, buy it in bulk. Maybe it saves 10 cents a gallon, and over the whole county, you would talk a significant amount of money. Let's talk about front tires for a plow truck. You're looking at $1,000. Well, maybe we can work with Michelin and we can buy our school bus tires from the same vendor. Everybody works together, taxpayers win.
Since I've been on the board, I've served my first term, so roughly about 3.5 years. I'm going to say this, there's never enough money. You talk about savings, the issues that come up that money needs to be spent on, we go through that time and time and time again. We spend a lot of time looking at ways to pay for things that we need. For instance, to save money. Or do we want less deputy sheriffs traveling our roads here in the county? What risk would that provide? You know, I'm going to say this, it's always a challenge to meet the budget and meet the needs that we have to spend money on. It always has been, never enough money.
Yeah. What ideas do you have to streamline county government, reduce waste, and cut budget costs?
Streamlining county government, I think the biggest thing for me is the cities and counties need to communicate better. I think they need to talk to each other more. I actually think at times, and maybe the board would disagree with me, I think that some of the board members need to either attend a city council meeting periodically, or at least listen in from a Zoom from that perspective. I've got a lot of perspective sitting at city council meetings around the county. I'm finding out just sitting there like a Neil and Minden have terrible cell service that needs to be done. Carter Lake is still struggling with the sheriffs at times to come over and visit with them. But for savings, especially on costs and stuff, one perfect thing was the city of Avoca got rid of their city police, added county sheriffs, and saved hundreds of thousands of dollars.
All right, thank you. We will now move into closing statements. We will start with Mr. Belt. Each candidate will have 1 minute to give closing remarks.
Well, again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and listening to the candidates, and wish all the candidates the best of luck. I think it's very important that you exercise your right to vote. That's a problem that we have in our government, in Pott County, and actually across probably the country, as far as apathy when it comes to voting. So I would encourage you to get all your friends or family or whoever you can and encourage them to exercise their right to vote. And again, thank you for coming, and have a safe trip back home.
I might like to thank everybody for coming also. I'll be honest, it's a lot more people than what I figured. All I can promise is I'm not up here to blow smoke. I'm a straight shooter guy. I will fight for you. You know, like I said, I serve on the Lewis Central School Board right now. I probably dedicate 20 plus hours a week to do things, working with different departments, working with the administration. I probably stick my nose in where it probably doesn't belong. And that's all right, because it's all for the betterment of the school, for the students, and for the community. So again, thank you for coming.
Okay, today is, for me anyway, is a tough day. I recently sold my house, just me, and the house was too big for me to live in, so I sold my house, going to be renting for a while. But my wife passed away in May of 23, and but I miss her terribly. So I'm just going to say that moving all the stuff, I'm a little stiff and sore moving furniture. I'm 71, I'll be 72 years old here pretty quick. So if I look a little beat and run down, that's why. But you know, it's my wife is interned up there at the Catholic Cemetery here in Council Bluffs. I will be up there with her at some point, and really, I can't wait. Thank you.
First of all, I really want to thank everybody for coming. It's great to see people coming out here, wanting to get out and vote. I wish there were more that would do that. Hopefully over the next month or so we can get more involved in it. I want to thank the candidates for all being here. It's nice to see everybody, hear what everybody's opinion are, to see where we're at, especially as a Republican Party, which way our priorities are going, so that's always great. Otherwise, I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to June 2nd. I think this is a great opportunity for the county to move forward, have some different voices, and also just getting out. And one of the favorite things I guess my wife always points out is I've had a lot of fun going out to different counties and stuff and meeting people.
I also want to thank everyone for coming. I enjoy the little conversations that I have with each of you that I've gotten to speak with, whether it's here or other events. I truly enjoy you guys, and I look forward to more. We have a lot of great people that are running. I think a lot of great people that will do justice for this county. And I obviously hope that I'm one of them, but you guys have a lot to think about and a big decision come June 2nd. So we look forward to it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll now give the other 4 candidates a chance for their closing remarks. How old do you think I am? Well, 29. Anyone who wants to start first?
The learning curve for this job is steep, and I've built a 4-year solid foundation, my years of experience already with the board. I love learning and solving problems, and with my 30-plus years experience with civic boards, government boards, foundations, nonprofits, and 42 years of banking practices where audit, operational policies, procedures came into play. I just believe that I've got a lot to offer this county, and I would appreciate your vote for the primary on June 2nd. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for attending tonight. This is a very good turnout. Also, Patrick, the Republican Party, thank you for doing this. For me, I want to ask the question, what kind of a county government do you want? Frankly, folks, the election, it's not about me or the other candidates. It's about you. This is your board, not my board, it's your board. And you've got to decide on June the 2nd what kind of a board you want to represent you. Are you happy with the status quo? Same old, same old? Or do you want something new? You want to go in a different way? Do you want new ideas? Do you want new initiatives? Think outside of the box, because let's face it, if this budget crisis isn't solved, it's going to be tough for all of us in the future. So my question is, what kind of a board do you want? It's in your hands. I ask for your support on June 2nd. Thanks so much.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. It's a really good turnout. I appreciate all the questions from the audience too. It's great to engage with you and try to give you a better idea of who we are. And I appreciate all the candidates that were up here. speaking and giving their points of view. It's important. I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy that came here in 1992, started a career, raised a family, retired, and I want to get back to this county. I want to listen to the people. I want to make sure that every community is heard. I want to make sure that we continue to grow, be prosperous, be safe, and vote on June 2nd. If it's for me, that's great, but just get out there and vote. It's important.
You know, I'm probably not the loudest person in the room or the best public speaker in the room, but I'll tell you one thing that, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, how the county board can't, you know, run on 2%, but, you know, the people can. You know, the people can take a huge increase in their property taxes, and they can't, you know, their property taxes go up 2%, you know, that it doesn't make a lot of sense. So we need to get down to the, you know, the nuts and bolts of this and actually try to help the people that this is for. You know, is the government for, you know, are we for the government or is the government for us? And it's for us, and that's what we need to keep it that way. So, you know, if you want somebody that's going to go up there and, you know, fight for you, fight for everybody in here, you know, fight for all the residents and make the right choices and look at, you know, every possible angle to try to save money and save these taxpayers like us, you know, you know, vote for me on June 2nd. So I'm Karis Curley. Thank you.
Well, thank you everyone for being here this evening. Thank you to the Republican Party of Pottawatomie County for putting this together. Thank you to Brian Holder for filming this. This will be available online. I want to take a second to thank all the 9 candidates who took the time and are putting their name out there. It's not easy to run for a public office, so I want to give them a round of applause. It's not easy to put your name out there, so we appreciate that you guys are willing to step up and serve. It's not easy moderating either. I will try to do better next time, Scott, so I will do my best. Our next forum will be on Tuesday, May 12th in Oakland. We hope that you can be there. Again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to come out, and early voting begins on May 13th at the Pottawatomie County Courthouse, and the primary will be on June 2nd. So no matter who you are voting for, make sure you get out, make your voice heard, and vote. Thank you.
Good job.